show and exacta wagering. Here are the starters. Number 1, Soup Bone Daiquiri, owned by Margaret Marino of Joliet, trained and driven by Bob Decker. The 1A is Soup Bone Wabbit, owned by Margaret Decker of Atwater, Margaret Marino of Joliet, trained by Bob Decker. John David Finn is up. Number 2 is Ariel's Betty, owned by Enlow Management Incorporated of Keville, Kentucky. Randy Gerald trains and drives. Number 3 is Riverside Joni, owned by Bobby Dexter of Paducah, Kentucky. Roy Finn is the trainer-driver. Number 4, Touch a Source, is owned by Nancy and Jeff Carey of Columbus Junction, Iowa, trained by Curtis Carey, Andy Miller in the bike. Number 5, Splendor Triumph, owned by Gene Melville of DuQuoin. Gene Melville owns, Ray Gash trains, and Ray Gash drives. She Will March On, number 6, is owned by Fred Finn Jr. of Newton. He trains, he drives. 7 is Seventh Score, owned by Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York, trained by Steve Halford, his son Stephen II, in the bike. At the post, the gate is rolling. Number 3, Riverside Joni, the favorite, owned by Bobby Dexter of Paducah, Kentucky, who has owned standardbreds for 50 years. He is looking on from the stands as we get set for the 6th race. Here they come. They're off and trotting. Seventh Score is first away from the far outside. Ariel's Betty down toward the rail gets away second, and Splendor Triumph is up close in between those two. In fact, there goes Splendor Triumph bursting through a crowd of horses to get the lead, and Splendor Triumph gets over toward the rail, leading it by just over 1 length. Seventh Score dives over toward the inside and second by 2. Ariel's Betty goes third. Soup Bone Daiquiri is fourth. Touch a Source is racing fifth. Soup Bone Wabbit is sixth. She Will March On is seventh, and Riverside Joni, the favorite, is 8th and last, racing better than a dozen lengths off the lead. Soup Bone Wabbit just made a break. Opening quarter went in 30 seconds. Splendor Triumph is on top by a length heading up the back stretch. Seventh Score goes second by 2. Ariel's Betty is third by 2.5. Then Soup Bone Daiquiri, followed by Touch a Source. 4 more lengths back to She Will March On. Another 5 to Riverside Joni, who at this point is still a dozen lengths off the lead. 3 more to Soup Bone Wabbit, who trails. At the halfway point, Splendor Triumph leads the half in 1:01 and 1. Seventh Score is next. Ariel's Betty third. 2 more lengths to Soup Bone Daiquiri. Touch a Source. Then She Will March On. Riverside Joni still has more than 12 lengths to make up on the leader. Soup Bone Wabbit is last. Midway on the last turn, Splendor Triumph challenged by Seventh Score, who starts to range up alongside the leader. They're stride for stride. Seventh Score gets ahead in front. Splendor Triumph is second by 5. Then Ariel's Betty, Touch a Source, and Soup Bone Daiquiri. 3/4 reached in 1:32 and 2/5. Splendor Triumph and Seventh Score still battling the lead off the final turn. 5 more lengths to Touch a Source. Ariel's Betty, then Soup Bone Daiquiri in the 5th position. Into the final 8th mile, Seventh Score short lead. Splendor Triumph is fighting back on the inside. Splendor Triumph and Seventh Score, then Touch a Source and Soup Bone Daiquiri. Seventh Score gets the lead a half length from Splendor Triumph, then Touch a Source and Soup Bone Daiquiri at the line. Seventh Score gets it by a length. Splendor Triumph was second. It is close for third, either Touch a Source or Soup Bone Daiquiri. As we told you yesterday, we like to recognize milestone achievements at the DuQuoin State Fair, and the young man who drives Seventh Score has just achieved one. This is the first winning drive at the DuQuoin State Fair ever for Stephen Halford II. Stephen, congratulations. And it doesn't matter how many races a driver has won elsewhere, and Steve has won his share on the county fair circuit. It's always something special to walk into victory lane at DuQuoin for the first time. This 2-year-old filly, Seventh Score, is owned by Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York, trained by Steve Halford, bred by Rudy Hendricks and others in a partnership up at Camp Point, Illinois. Fillies by March 7th, out of striking score by final score, 203-1. Number 5, Splendor Triumph, was second. The 1, Soup Bone Daiquiri, third. And number 4, Touch-A-Source, was fourth. Result is still unofficial. Official for the 6th race, a 7.5 exacta worth $68.80.